I've decided to make this video about right before the international break. Barca go away to one more game before it, though, against Celta Vigo. And to be honest, for the past 10 to 15 years, that's not been an easy tie for Barcelona. Away at Balaidos, I mean, they've only won, I think, 2 games there in the last 10 years. So it's not been easy. But I want to talk today about what in the world is going on with Barcelona, because we talked about last season how they were so great and they managed to compete for all trophies until the absolute end of the season, until they got knocked out of the UCL in the semifinal at the absolute last second of the game, kind of. But this season is a completely different story, and I think it's not really. It can be really pinpointed to just a manager or just the players or just the board. But currently, I mean, I don't think saying Barcelona is actually a circus is an overstatement. If anything, it's an understatement. And look, I mean, if we start with simply their performances, Barcelona are currently 5 points behind in La Liga this season. Same games played as everybody else, of course. This match hasn't started yet. 5 points behind Madrid. Of course, a lot of that is because that Clásico had Barca lost. In the UCL, we can go to Barcelona with 7 points, 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, and they stand 11th currently, behind the likes of Galatasaray and Tottenham, for example. And they just haven't been near the level they were at last season. And you take a look at each game, scoreline wise, performance wise, 3-3 most recently against Club Brugge away. Horrible performance. Barca, if anything, should have lost that game. They beat Elche 3-1. I mean, once again, nothing convincing. They lost to Madrid away in the Clásico. Shocking performance. They beat Olympiacos versus at home against Olympiacos in the UCL, and most of those goals came once Olympiacos had that red card given to them, which was a bit 50-50, a bit harsh. And before that red card, Barca weren't particularly, you know, convincing either. And to be honest, 4-1 to Sevilla is a disgrace. And a lot of these wins for Barca, 2-1 to Girona, 2-1 versus Sociedad, 3-1 over Oviedo, bar the Getafe and Valencia games, Barca has been shocking this season. Shocking this season. The performances from the players, the individual performances as a team has been shocking. The tactical fluidity of Flick, and how much he is willing to actually adapt his system and change things, whether game by game or just within games, has been non-existent. And the entire point is that Barcelona have dropped numerous levels this season compared to the last season. And you think about all the teams this summer, and which teams have become better. Man City has become better than last season. Even Madrid, who are not particularly good right now, are playing better than they did last season. At least this season, they have a bit more structure about them. Liverpool not better, but they definitely made some big signings. Arsenal seem to be stronger. PSG have dropped a little bit, but they're still competing. They still beat Barca, and essentially humiliated them at Barca's home ground. And the entire point is that a lot of these teams played in the Club World Cup. We were talking about, Barca's not playing in that tournament. The players are going to be fresh, but I don't see it. And we can talk about the players and the manager first. If we talk about the players, I don't see one player that's improved in level from last season, except maybe Fermin. Everybody else has dropped the level. Even Lamin's not playing at the level he was at before. Rafinha's been injured. Lewandowski has not been consistent, and he's been injured. Rashford wasn't there last season, but he's getting the goals and assists, but he's not particularly insane as a all-around footballer for Barca's build-up and their style of play. The defense has been woeful, to say the least. And then, of course, the only player who's been truly, truly, truly playing, to the level is Joan Garcia, but now he's been injured, and he should be coming back shortly. But the point is that there's been a lot of injuries. There's been a lot of, just like amateur things going on. Like, you talk about Barca last season. Yes, they had injuries, but there was nothing big. It wasn't like it was now. And if you take a look at everything, essentially, even the physical team, even the medical team of Barcelona has regressed from last season. We talked about Julio Tus last season and how he fixed Pedri, and the team was way better prepared for matches. This season doesn't seem to be the case. Um, and I think it's harsh to pinpoint it on one sector of the club, whether it's people pinpointing it on Flick, whether it's people pinpointing it on solely the players. I think it's a whole club wise. It's just, I mean, it's a joke. And I'm gonna go on to talk about the board because not many people have talked about it because everyone sees the performances in the games. But the board of Barcelona has is bearing a lot of questions, especially for me at least. And you know, I think overall Flick has to be more fluid with his tactics. He said recently that he's not really going to change his tactics and approach. He's just going to try to, I guess, tweak some minor things. Um, this means that he's not going to change his approach at all. I mean, I don't see him even dropping the line in games by even what 2 to 3 meters on the pitch. I don't see it happening. So I guess he has to just figure out the details because I think this issue lies more than details. I think structure wise, a lot of teams have hacked Barcelona, and a lot of goals come at Barcelona's, you know, expense because the defense just they can't handle the offside trap with the pressure that's happening from the midfield and the attack. The midfield's press and control of the game, the attack's press is shocking, and just all around the performances have been not good. You can name anything, defense, midfield, attack. It hasn't been good enough. Even Pedri, who's been playing out of his mind for the last year and a half. I mean, he's dropped the level as well, and for Pedri, I attribute his dropping level a bit more to the team dropping a level because he really has no help. I mean, the midfield now that Pedri's injured has looked even worse. So that's also, I guess, a joke. It's actually ridiculous how they need Pedri to even operate like a midfield. But look, that's what this club is right now, and I think the players have to do better. Kunde, for example, has been truly shocking. Ferran Torres has been truly shocking, and I don't know. I mean, you look at their where's their squad at? You can look at their squad right now. It's just too thin. Even if you consider everybody to be healthy, I think Barca's attack is too thin. Too thin. Sorry, their attack is too thin. Their midfield is fine, but I think they lack a profile like Bernal in there, and I don't know why he's not getting minutes right now. Hansi Flick saw how Bernal was playing before he got injured. He was starting every game at 17 years old in a double pivot with Pedri. But now that he came back from injury, he started getting a few minutes, but now he hasn't gotten minutes in a whole month. I get the entire point of easing him back and not forcing him to do a lot of work and intense games and stuff, but he hasn't gotten minutes in a month. And I know Barca's had every game come close because they haven't been playing well at all, but I think Bernal has a profile. He is very important, and at least get him some minutes. I don't know. It's literally been a month since he's played, or what, 3 weeks. That's what, at least 5 games that he hasn't even seen the pitch. And I think with a player with his talent, with his profile that Barca desperately need right now, I don't know why Flick's not giving him minutes apart from possibly wanting to just ease him in, but there's no easing in. He's not playing at all. So apart from that profile of a midfield, Barca is actually pretty stacked in midfield, but attack-wise, too thin. Defense, and this will tie into me talking about the board. Garcia has a broken ankle? Nah, it's gotta be a nose. He's got a broken nose, not a broken ankle. There's no way. Anyways, I was saying before Inigo even left the club, before it was even speculated that he's going to leave the club, that Barca's defensive line, their defensive players that they have in the squad, it is just too thin. It's not going to be enough to even last an entire season at the highest level, competing for every trophy. It's not going to be enough. Out of nowhere, they let Inigo go to Saudi Arabia for free. One of the best center backs in the world last season, who was still under contract at Barcelona. They let him go to Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest clubs in Saudi Arabia, who would pay 50 million euros or whatever currency they use. They would pay that much money for a bag of peanuts if that bag of peanuts was registered under a football club. But they didn't pay for one of the best center backs in the world for free. And this ties into the board because I think Laporta definitely, Deco definitely, but overall the board of Barcelona has been very, very, very poor, and questions have to be asked. I mean, they're getting bodied in every single negotiation. They're, I guess, compromising the strength of the finances of the club to get players that they want. Like, for example, Barca still owes money for somebody like Lewandowski. Of course, Lewandowski was a great signing for Barcelona, but to owe another team, I think it's about 15 to 20 million euros still for a player that's, I guess, has less than a year left in his contract, and he's probably going to leave for free at the end of the summer or season. That's just ridiculous, and it's just horrible, horrible, horrible board work, horrible negotiating. Barca stays getting bodied, and we talk about Laporta's tenures at Barcelona. We think this is, of course, the second one. He came in here, what, I think it was 2020 or 2021, and he's done well in some regard. It's not, we have to give him the slack of he found this club in absolute ruins. If Bartomeu and Sandro Rosé didn't exist as actual people involved with Barcelona as a club, not only would Barca be probably in great shape right now, but they would have probably won 2 or 3 more Champions Leagues without those two people leading the club. So it's not, you can't say it's completely Laporta's fault that the club is like this. But I think it's been enough time now, because even I was cutting Laporta a lot of slack at the first 2 years of this tenure because of how well he did in the previous tenure from 2003 to 2010. I just don't think that you know I can cut him that much more slack. I think the questions have to start being asked. Numerous questions, because if you go to this report by The Athletic, now I don't know how much to trust this. I know this is just a report, but in 2021, Barca recorded the biggest loss for a football club ever, 555 million euros. Today, they still have the deepest debt in the world game, 5 billion euros. Now, Laporta's been in here, and this number, I'm pretty sure, is bigger than it was when he took over the club. So it's not a case of has Laporta done well or poor regarding the finances, but it's obviously regressed. 1.5 billion debt is crazy. You think about the Camp Nou reconstruction. Was that? Of course, it's going to be a great thing. The new Camp Nou is going to be elite level. It's going to be great once it's finished. But was that necessary to be done at this point with this debt? Because Barca could have heavily benefited from not spending the money and time on that project, and actually used the old Camp Nou, made more money because of the actual what it is, the Camp Nou, and the capacity of it. Barca could have made so much more money and actually improve their finances with the old Camp Nou, but they decided to just force this reconstruction of it. And that's one question I have: was that necessary at this moment? I don't think so, but I guess a club, or Laporta at least, says otherwise. You think about the sporting director with Deco. Now, I'm not completely a hater of Deco. I'm not. I always respect legends of the club, legends of the sport. Deco was a great footballer. Yeah, he had a great time at Barcelona. I'm not gonna be completely against him and hate on him like a lot of people do hate on Xavi because of his managerial stint at Barcelona. I would never do that, but questions have to be asked, because other than Rafinha he brought in, the Vitor Roque deal was shocking. Horrible ROI on that. And what's he done as a sporting director? He just scouted players, but nothing's really been done for recruitments. I guess Rashford was good as a loan deal, but it wasn't really a case of Barca managing to get him. It was really Rashford begging it, I guess, to join the club. So I don't really attribute that to Deco. They were talking about Deco. He was leading the charge for the Nico Williams deal. That clearly didn't happen. Last second, Nico decided to extend with Bilbao, and just the questions are there. And you think about it. If you compare terms for Laporta, this term with his previous term, you think about his previous term. He was hired. He was elected in 2003, and he made the promise to sign a world beater, I guess, a big, renowned name. It happened to be Ronaldinho. I think he actually promised Beckham first, but it ended up being Ronaldinho, which worked out fantastically. And then he ended up building one of the greatest team ever from 2009 to 2012. That was Laporta's Barca, essentially, and they were the most dominant, most impactful, most, I guess, entertaining team in football history. All of it happened with 90% of that was with academy players for free, and they managed to produce the greatest player ever, the greatest midfield ever, as a trio, a lot of great defenders. And, I just, you compare that to this term. Of course, La Masia is doing pretty well right now, but why he's just such a political figure where he is not completely honest, and this tenure hasn't been as fruitful for what his work has been compared to the last one. Now, I think an important point to make is this. Everyone knows Johan Cruyff's role at Barcelona, of course, as a player, but as a manager, as a person involved in the club, I mean, he changed Barcelona's philosophy and made them to what they are now in terms of a team that produces football rather than consuming or buying football. And of course, it's important to note that during Laporta's first term, yes, Joan Laporta had Johan Cruyff as an advisor during his first presidency at Barcelona from 2003 to 2010. Barca was advised, Laporta was advised by Cruyff, in a lot of decisions. You think about the 2008, managerial hire for Barcelona, it was between Mourinho and Pep. Laporta wanted Mourinho. Cruyff advised him to, hire Pep or promote Pep from the B team. And obviously that paid out insane dividends. So I think, you have to start asking yourself, what percentage of a role did Cruyff play in that in the first tenure, and how much of, what Barca did back then was down to him, or how much of it was actually down to Laporta. Look, the slack of Laporta is this, that the club he found was in ruins, but he just had too many political answers. There's been a lot of lying. There's been a lot of just circus show going on, essentially. I mean, he promised Messi contract extension. He promised the Camp Nou to be done last year. We're still waiting for this year to open up at an even lower capacity than was expected at last year. So I don't know. It's a complete joke. I don't know what's going on completely. Nobody knows the full story. Nobody, unless you're in the club running it, knows the entire full story. We can only discuss about what we see. But the point is that unless you're a true cooler and you love Barcelona and you defend them with all your life, there's no point to look at this team currently and say, everything's going well. Even as a club, it's just, like, most of the things are not going well. Most of them. Finances, performances, results overall, signings. Barca need a lot of signings right now. They need a center back. They need a striker. They need, a backup fullback, possibly for right back. I mean, there's a lot of signings that need to be made. There's a lot of things that need to be done. And it just seems to be piling up. And, the onus is on everybody. There's just a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of things have to be figured out. And if they want to compete this season, they have to be figured out quickly and ASAP, because, like I said numerous times in this video, it's been a joke. So yeah, this is what I think currently. I mean, every match review I've made, I haven't done it for every match on YouTube, but on TikTok, I've started every video with Barca win but horrible performance. Barca loss, of course, horrible performance. Every game I watch from them is just not a good performance. It's either horrible or just mediocre. So this is just, I guess, a reality of it. And yeah, I mean, let's see if they can fix anything. But big game, for some reason, a big game for Celta Vigo away on Sunday. Let's see how they do in that. And then I guess the international break will happen. This should be the last one until, I think, April or March. But yeah, look, once January hits, I know it's not going to happen. Barca need to do something in the transfer window. They're not going to sign anybody. If it was down to me, if in an ideal world, first center back, Barca signed either Van de Ven, Schlotterbeck, or Cuti Romero. First striker, they go either for Haaland or Alvarez, if an ideal world, if they had money. But, it's just not going to happen. So they have to work with what they've got. And the most positive thing that could happen, the most positive news is that the Camp Nou return should be happening soon, which they've been saying for a long time. But I think now it's about time it's going to happen. So I guess that's only positive. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in the next video.